Why do we buy utility side-by-side ATVs? What goal or purpose do they fulfill that no other vehicle can? The answer is simple: versatility. A side-by-side ATV can go places no other vehicle can get to while carrying loads other vehicles simply can't handle. Today, a side-by-side really is the best choice in nearly any off-road utility situation. But if the best is what you're really looking for, and if going more places while you're hauling more stuff is what you're trying to do, your side-by-side could be better. This is where the T4S track kit comes in. We've tested a number of different Camoplast 4S track kits in the past and have installed them on all different types of ATVs and run them in all different types of conditions. We've found them to substantially jack up the capabilities of anything they're bolted to. Today, we're going to prove this point by outfitting our mid-sized Ranger 800 with a brand new set of Camoplast T4S tracks, loading the box full of cargo, and comparing where it can go and how easily it can get there versus our other mid-size Ranger, the 570. The T4S kit can be installed on any ATV or side-by-side 400 cc's or larger thanks to different size drive sprockets that are designed to compensate final drive ratio to best match engine displacement. Combine this with all the different mounting kits available, and the T4S becomes compatible with over 70 different ATV and side-by-side models. Basically, if you've got it and it's 400 cc's or more, the T4S will fit. Camoplast made a few technical changes to this year's T4S system, including a new main bearing housing with a triple bearing oil bath design, along with new outer seals and stainless steel sleeves for increased durability and reliability. Additional upgrades include a grease fitting on the tandem stabilizer, bolt-on tandem mid-roller wheels, and big improvements to the anti-rotation arm used for independent suspensions. Factory preset springs and preloaded rubber dampers not only make final adjustments quick and easy, but also improve track articulation for improved rider comfort. Huge improvements have been made to how you mount these track kits since the very first set I installed way back in the day. Back then, installing a track kit rated pretty darn high on the difficulty scale for the average consumer. The whole mounting system has been rethought and redesigned, and today, mounting a set of tracks can easily be accomplished in less than 3 hours. The idea behind this test is to have two vehicles that are the same size and the same horsepower, so that the playing field is level. And while the 800 does have more horsepower than the 570 in stock form, the extra drag of the tracks will even things out pretty well when it comes to horsepower at the tires, or tracks. We used approximately 800 pounds of rocks to fill the beds on both vehicles equally. Then we set out into the wild to tackle some situations a typical utility side-by-side user would likely find themselves in, starting with a simple trip down the trail. What became immediately apparent on this short section of trail is that when fully loaded, the tires on a wheeled vehicle become far more susceptible to pinch flats. You have to be extremely careful not to hit anything very hard. With tracks, it's a completely different story. Tracks don't rely on air-filled tires, so while this point has nothing to do with actual traction, it's an important one. With tracks, you'll never have to worry about flats, even fully loaded on sharp-edged rocks. Next, we thought we'd venture a bit off the trail. Now, there's a number of reasons you might want to take your utility side-by-side off trail, whether it be getting to a tree stand, hauling game at a remote hunting location, trapping, or even surveying. Sometimes there just isn't a trail where you need to go. Under these conditions, two benefits of the track system really stood out. First is stability. When you're not 100% sure about what you're driving over or into, the extra length, width, and lower COG really gave extra confidence. The second thing that stood out in these conditions was traction. Brush, gravel, loose rocks, it didn't matter. This mid-size Ranger in low range with tracks climbed up, over, and through anything it was pointed at. The wheeled Ranger struggled in this area, especially when tackling off-camber ruts or steep hills. Traction isn't as much an issue with this much weight in the box, but the weight is all up high and at the back, so the front wheels get light really easy. Our final area of comparison is a narrow trail through a marsh. Now, this section of trail can be traversed on a wheeled side-by-side or ATV as long as it's unloaded and you keep your wheels out in the mud. But if you're carrying too much weight or you let your wheels fall into those ruts, you're done. They're sloppy and endlessly deep. On a soft surface like a Marsh, even in a well-tramped area, the substantial weight in the box and subsequent added weight on just those 4 tires only serve to anchor the Ranger in like quicksand. This is where the additional surface area and lower ground pressure of the tracks really showed its benefits. The Ranger 800 with tracks had no trouble in this section. Even with a bed full of rocks and an admittedly heavy track kit, the 800 Ranger just floated over the muskeg. Rutted areas were easier to bridge thanks to the increased overall track width of this vehicle with the wider track kit installed. If you had to cross over those ruts, the extra length of the tracks helped there too. On flat areas, the additional square inches of track surface spread out the weight of the vehicle and cargo so it didn't sink into the wetter marsh areas, and finally, when you did have to tackle a mud hole, the track's unmatched traction just clawed right on through to the other side. I didn't need much convincing that tracks are a huge benefit in many work-related situations. I've seen it firsthand and experienced it myself many times. What I wanted to find out today is why a wheeled vehicle is at a disadvantage in some situations, and just how much better is the track-equipped side-by-side. For recreational riding on a trail or doing light work on or around the yard, it's hard to argue the benefits of an air-filled tire. In these circumstances, a better replacement has not yet been found. But the air-filled tire does have a number of drawbacks when the terrain gets more difficult or the loads get substantially heavier. In these circumstances, there's no question, a set of Camoplast T4S tracks is the only way to roll.